Okay, in this video I'm going to run through the editing steps in Lightroom Classic that I took to take this photo on the left here through to this quite highly edited and stylized photo on the right. So I've been taking a few of these kind of photos recently with this cell tower set in nature. I like the juxtaposition of this ugly industrial object amongst all this beautiful green nature surrounding it. And I think what I want to do is have a go at probably a fairly unnatural edit with this one, but, you know, kind of really play on the theme here, slightly dystopian vibe. So I want to cool all the colors down, get rid of all the warm tones. Yeah, so let's get started. So the first step is going to be to sort the crop out. As you can see, I've got these really dark corners in the top here. They're probably in the bottom, but you just can't see them because of the subject. I had two filters on the lens, a black mist filter, which I'm sort of generally experimenting with at the moment. Probably the wrong filter for this photo, but I just had it on the lens already. And then a polarizer as well. So with those two stacked, you can really see the edge of the filters here. And I had the lens at its widest, 24. So that's why you're seeing them. So I'm going to keep the crop ratio at 2:3. And I'm going to come in, I want to keep the cell tower in the top third, I think. Something like that. Yeah, let's start there. Next, I'm going to have a look at the exposure, HDR controls, and probably set the white point. So first thing I'm going to do, let's bring the highlights all the way down, because we've got that really bright grey white sky. Very boring, but I don't mind it for this photo. Let's bring the exposure up a bit and then bring those shadows up a lot. And I'm going to use the black slider to introduce a bit of contrast in those darker tones. Let's get that 2 there. I think this is starting to get a bit too dark, the structure in the center here. So let's bring that exposure up a bit more. And then maybe I need to bring the whites down now. And then I think I'm going to set the white point with this, and rather than set it all the way at the top so we've got a really white sky, I'm going to drop it slightly so we've got this kind of slightly dull grey tone at the brightest point. I think that matches the atmosphere of the image. So this has now really brought out all these really nice warm tones in the greens in all of this foreground foliage here, which I really don't want. So I'm going to use the HSL panel to really cool a lot of that down. So let's go to the saturation, let's find all these reds, and yeah, I'm just gonna get these all the way down. I don't think I want to lose that one too much. That's better. And I think I might also, let's add a bit of blue to the shadows as well. Not too much, but just enough to really cool the whole photo down. Get rid of that warmth. Next, I'm going to start looking at adding a linear gradient at the bottom and a vignette on the whole image, and probably take it quite far. I want to really, like I said, I'm not going for a realistic edit. And what I want to do is make quite a claustrophobic kind of vibe with it. So you're really focused in on the subject. So let's start with the linear gradient. Just going to really bring these tones down here. So now let's add the vignette. And what I'm going to do with this is, let's bring that down. I'm going to increase the feather so it's quite soft, and I'm going to increase the highlights so they're excluded from it, so I can have more of an effect, and then that's going to affect the darker tones more than the lighter tones. Whereas if I brought that down, it's going to, I don't like this look quite so much in the sky. So I bring these highlights up, and then this means the vignette will affect the darker tones more than the highlights. And I want to take this quite far. I want to really bring in that kind of claustrophobic feel. So next I'm going to use the kind of lifted faded blacks look. I know it's kind of cliche now to use that, but I think that's going to really help with adding some atmosphere to this photo. So I'm going to take it quite high. Yeah, that's made quite a difference, I think. If we just look at before that and then afterwards. Yeah, I really like that effect. So I think that's had the effect of making the image slightly more flat, which is fine. That is part of the atmosphere. But what I am going to do now is just add a bit of clarity to bring a bit more contrast to the image. So probably something like that. Something I want to try now, and this is a real experiment for me, is I'm going to try and add a bit of distortion to it. If I'd have had a wider angle lens, I think that would have worked better, but 24 is the widest I've got. So I think I'm going to, if I find the lens corrections, let's have a look at the profile. I just want to remove the distortion correction that's already been applied. You know, I'm really trying to make this quite an unrealistic looking photo. That's a bit too extreme maybe. Wow, you can go really far with that. Just slightly. Yeah, that's good. And then a great way to add a bit of atmosphere and character is to add some grain. I quite often do this. I'm not pretending to make it look like film. I just really like the effect. So I'm going to add quite a lot. And I have learnt from previous experience, if you increase the size, it really lowers the resolution of the photo. If I show you this, it just makes it really unclear. So I'm going to keep that at its default, but probably bring that all the way up and add that. Okay, so just a couple more changes to make. It's really hard to tell with the... I feel like the tower's not quite on the vertical, maybe needs to be rotated slightly, but it's kind of awkward. I think these legs of the tower converge slightly, so as it gets to the top, so it's kind of hard to tell the angle, but I think I do want to... I'm just going to change the rotation slightly. Yeah, maybe that's all it needs. I think that is better, yeah. And then I'm going to look at the colours again, but using the calibration controls. I think I still want to... Let's see if we can get rid of some more warmth again. Get rid of some of that red, and then I think I'm going to increase the greens, but then shift them again more towards the blues. Let's see what difference that's made. Yeah, look, again, we've got rid of even more warm tones. And then lastly, I think I'm going to revisit the tone curve, maybe reset that white point. Now that I've used the vignette to darken down some of these edges, I don't mind increasing the white point a bit now. I don't know if it's worth adding a slight curve, or if that's too much. No, I quite like that. That's good. So now let's have a look at a before and after comparison.